Associate Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is both my deepest honor to rise today and to deliver what is both my maiden speech and, in fact, the first maiden speech for the constituency of Calgary-Acadia. Members of this House may not realize that Calgary-Acadia was one of the new constituencies created in 2010, primarily from the former riding of Calgary-Edgemont. It is an honour and a privilege to serve in Alberta's first NDP government with so many women and with Alberta's first openly LGBTQ MLAs. It's an honour for each of us to be here representing the people of our communities, and I know that we all take this responsibility seriously. And as a mother who works outside of her home, it's also incredible to have the first sitting MLA to give birth while in office and to witness firsthand how our legislature is becoming more family-friendly, with members from both sides of the aisle supporting these efforts. Pregnant and employed mothers across Alberta can attest to the importance of a supportive work environment and supportive colleagues. With one new baby in our midst and my own on the way, I am pleased to see the ways that our workplace is adapting to support parents with small children, and I look forward to seeing the ripple effects in workplaces across our province. I would also like to take a moment to thank my beautiful family, my husband Scott and my daughter Zoe, for their love and support throughout this process. I would especially thank Scott for his encouragement to put my name forward for election and for his words of support during the campaign, and particularly the night before election night, when he said, "Work hard tomorrow, you just might win this thing." His support in the months since my election has been invaluable, and I couldn't do this without his love and the work he does to keep our household running. I would also like to thank my parents, Jean and Henry Zimmerman, for instilling in me the values of hard work, of caring for others, and of public service. It is because of their unfailing love and support that I am here today. I would also like to thank the voters of Calgary-Acadia for putting their trust in me and for selecting me to represent them in this Assembly. In the months since I was elected, I've had the honour and the privilege of meeting many, many people who live and work in my riding. We've met at barbecues, pancake breakfasts, skating parties, teas at senior centres, classrooms, constituency office open houses, and everywhere in between. Hearing their stories, their concerns, and their hopes for the future has been an incredible experience, and I look forward to continuing to hear from the residents of Calgary-Acadia and continuing to represent their views as their MLA. Calgary-Acadia is a vibrant constituency in southeast Calgary with a population that ranges from young families such as mine to seniors who are among the original homeowners who settled when our communities were developed in the 1960s, and everyone in the spectrum between. Calgary-Acadia includes the residential communities of Acadia, Fairview, Manchester, Maple Ridge, Riverbend, Southwood, and my home community of Willow Park. It also includes the industrial community of Lilith, Bonnybrook, Manchester, and one of Calgary's busiest retail hubs in the Deerfoot Heritage area. We're lucky to have two major fitness centres and recreation facilities with the Acadia Recreation Complex and the Trico Centre, and we'll be soon home to an indoor and outdoor tennis centre. We've been active and involved community associations throughout the riding, as well as the FLC Seniors Club, which offers social and wellness programs to seniors in our community and throughout the city, and in fact, it's one of the largest seniors clubs in Canada. Calgary-Acadia is also home to many schools of all grade levels, and schools feature a mix of mainstream programming as well as French immersion programs at all grade levels and an arts-focused middle school. It's easy to see why families would choose to move to Calgary-Acadia, and I am proud to call Calgary-Acadia my home. I'm also proud to be elected as the first New Democrat in the constituency, as well as the first woman MLA for this riding. While I was campaigning and in the months since my election, I've had the opportunity to speak with constituents from all walks of life. They've shared with me their concerns for their family's future, and indeed for our province's future. Parents express concern for their children's education. Would there be enough teachers to meet the demands and the needs of our growing student population? Would there be enough supports for children with special learning needs? I spoke with mothers who opted to stay out of the workforce or limited their working hours because they couldn't afford childcare or the waiting lists for placement were too long. I spoke with home care workers working hard to support the members of our community who are concerned about the level of supports available to our seniors. I spoke with people of all walks of life and all ages who are concerned about the future of our healthcare system and worried about cuts to frontline services. I spoke with people who have recently lost their jobs in our economic downturn, or who are worried about losing their jobs, and were worried about the future of our resource-based economy. Each person I've spoken with was looking for change. They were looking for a government that represented them and was ready to listen to them, that was ready to work hard to make our province a better place to live. And that is just what we will do as government, as we work to implement the issues highlighted in the speech from the throne, as well as the platform that I and my fellow MLAs on this side of the aisle ran on. Promises such as working to get pipelines built to diversify our energy market, pursuing an economic development strategy to create jobs and diversify our economy, investing in a greener, more sustainable economy, taking a responsible approach to public spending, and pursuing democratic reform to ensure public accountability. We will also continue to build on our platform commitments, such as building a lifelong learning system that brings out the potential in us all, building a health system that is there when we need it, and restoring stable support for health and education through a fair and progressive tax system. We're going to continue investing in stable and predictable funding for our schools and post-secondary educations, and in stable and predictable funding for our health system, so that universal, accessible, and high-quality health care will be there when Alberta families need it. And that's not just for emergency and urgent care, but also long-term care and home care. In order to meet the many challenges facing our health system, we, as a province, must invest more in prevention and early intervention in both mental and physical health. Mr. Speaker, these are the things that Albertans asked for. These are the things that I ran on. These are the things that matter to me and that I have fought for my entire adult life. In the months since the election, I've spoken with many hundreds of people in the riding who continue to echo those same wishes for our province's future, and who recognize that we face difficult times and we must make wise choices with the resources we have. This is not the first time that we, as a province, have had these conversations, but it is the first time that government is taking a different approach. When I was a high school student in the early 1990s, the government of the day began cutting spending for education, for healthcare, and for other essential services. I saw those cuts as damaging to our social programs, to the very fabric of our society, and I began speaking out against that plan. My very first political debate was at the dinner with my father, who saw things a little differently than I do. And I'd like to take a moment to thank my dad for helping me hone my debate skills. This is the debate that is currently happening at dinner tables, coffee shops, and workplaces across our province. How do we build an Alberta we can be proud of? How do we manage a financial downturn and a tough economy in a way where we support all Albertans to reach their fullest potential, in a way that supports Albertan families? How do we encourage our small and medium-sized businesses? And how does government support the job creators and innovators in our communities and in our industries? How do we ensure that Albertans have the access to the workforce and skills training and retraining they need to build bright futures for themselves and their families? Mr. Speaker, the road ahead is not an easy one. The ongoing low international price of oil has taken a huge toll on our province and on everyday Albertans. The decrease in royalty revenues have had an enormous impact on our provincial budget and on the business plans for our departments moving forward. There are difficult choices to be made in order to hold our departments to the growth targets that were outlined in Budget 2015. However, as an Albertan and as someone concerned with social justice and in the well-being of all Albertans, I am grateful that it is this government that will be making these choices. I'm grateful that these choices will be made by a government and a caucus that respects Albertans and respects our valuable social services. I'm grateful that these choices will be made by representatives that believe in taking a measured and thoughtful response, rather than mandating cuts without thought to the impact of Albertans and to the services we rely on. I'm grateful that these choices will be made by representatives who will not sacrifice our long-term recovery for a short-term balance sheet. There are difficult choices coming, and I know that I and the rest of this team are absolutely up to the task. In my career before this, I've worked as a reporter for a small community newspaper in Ontario, which gave me a strong sense of community and the way that decisions made at all levels of government impact the lives of all people. I worked as a communications coordinator and campaign organizer at a students' union in British Columbia, working to reduce tuition fees so that all students could access a high-quality post-secondary education, to promote academic freedom and the rights of students to organize. I saw how education changes lives and how people from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds can benefit from access to higher education. I've also worked in the oil and gas sector, both at an engineering firm and at a junior producer. I've seen boom and bust cycles in our energy sector, and I'm confident that our communities can move through this current cycle as we have the ones before it. I've also had the honor of managing someone else's small business and of starting my own. I know how hard small business owners work and how much they care for the people who work for them and ensuring that their people have a living wage. I've spent my career working in small teams with common goals and a common sense of how to get there. And while the size of our caucus is a little larger than the teams I'm used to working with, I'm thrilled to say that we share common goals and a sense of how to get there. Throughout my life, I've advocated for our healthcare system, for our education system, for supports to families and supports to seniors. I have spoken out against cuts to social services. I have spoken out against measures that increase inequality in our province and that have hurt the most vulnerable members of our society. And I am so grateful to be here in this assembly where I have the opportunity to vote in favor of and support all of those things that I have worked for and advocated for. I believe that a great society is one that cares for all of its members and all members of our community. I believe that the best way to a prosperous province is to work for equality for all members of our society and to remove the systemic barriers that prevent members of our community from reaching their full potential. I am so proud to be a part of Alberta's first NDP government, a government that will work hard to support these vital programs and to support all Albertans. I look forward to all of the positive changes that we will bring to our province and the ways that we will support Albertans through these trying times. It is honored to be part of such a diverse caucus and one that is so representative of the people of Alberta and that works hard to support everyday Albertans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.